Hello, my dear students and friends. Today we'll be dealing with the salient feature of environment and biodiversity law. Welcome back. I'm Professor Urus Ilyas, working in Department of Wildlife Sciences, Aligarh Muslim University. And today we'll be discussing about the Air Prevention and Control Pollution Act 1981 and National Environmental Tribunal Act 1995. So, introduction to air protection and um, Production and Control Pollution Act 1981. So let's talk about the what is this act is about. Air and its particular good quality air. So air in particular, the good quality air is essential for the survival of mankind. We all know we cannot survive without breathing good oxygen. Another living organism, survival of mankind and as well as other living organism on the planet earth. Air is a gift to all living organism by the mother nature and is mixture of gases from earth's atmosphere. If this composition is uh, disturbed by additional presence of carbon dioxide or ozone molecule or other gases, the air is said to be polluted. Air pollution is salient killer and one of the most critical environmental challenge. So we can see what are the reason. Uh, these are main causes for the um, transportation, dumping ground, dumping yard fire, and haze and smoke. These are the main reason for the air pollution. So air pollution is salient killer. We know, like in respiratory disease, reduced life expectancy, and environmental degradation, and around 12 lakh people die in India annually on account of air pollution related disease. This is the Greenpeace India report 2017 that the 12 lakh people die because of the air pollution related disease. India is home to some of the world's most air polluted cities like Delhi, Kanpur, Patna. These all are the industrial cities. So they are most very polluted cities. And India's first law targeting air pollution. This is the India's first law targeting air pollution. And what beginning of air protection and control following the United Nations Conference on Human Environment held in Stockholm in June 1970. We have again and again repeating the same. Stockholm Conference gave us lots of things to do. So, United Nations Conference on Human Environment held in Stockholm in June 1972, which called for global action against pollution. India, being an active participant in the conference, recognized the urgency to address environmental issues, particularly air pollution. So the act was also conceived as a response to the growing industrialization and urban extension, which significantly deterioration air quality and health hazard. So to address the air pollution issues in country and to fulfill its international commitment, India has passed this act in 1981. 72, the Stockholm Conference took place June 72, and finally the act was passed in 1981. So to making an act is not an easy thing. It takes lots of time. Lots of stakeholders holders are involved in that. So to add Stockholm Conference took place in 1972, and finally to address and control air pollution effectively, India lawmakers enacted the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, commonly known as Air Act. So, Air Pollution and Control Protection Act 1981 is uh, uh, is a landmark piece of legislation enacted by the Parliament of India under Article 253. Every act comes from the Constitution, legislation, Parliament. So, Article 253, the Act was passed on 29 March 1981 and came into force on 16 June It was passed in March and came into force into 16 June 1981 with the objective of curbing the adverse effect of air pollution. The act was designed not only to reduce the air pollutant but also to provide a systematic mechanism for monitoring and controlling air quality across India. The act is divided into 7 chapters and 54 sections, each addressing a specific aspect of air pollution control and environmental management. Like chapter 1, 7 chapters are listed. So there are 7 chapters. Chapter 1 deals with the like other act preliminary provisions and definition, and chapter 2 like section 3 to 6 deals with the establishment of central and state board for the prevention and control of the air pollution, and chapter 3 that is section 7 to 18 is specifically specify the power and functions of boards, and chapter 4 defines the rules for prevention and control of air pollution, while chapter 5 deals with funds accounts and audits, and chapter 6 deals with the contains detail about penalties and procedure, while the last chapter 7 deals with miscellaneous provision. So this is about the 7th chapter in the act. It is already mentioned. So there are 7 chapter and 54 section. Key definition of the act. What is the key definition of the act? As per the understanding the key definition is important because the entire law depends on how these terms are interpreted. Air pollution, these are substances like smoke, dust, gases like CO2 or chemical which when present in the air in too much quantity can harm human, animal, plants or property. So we cannot survive without oxygen. If there is too much of CO2, carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide, it will harm to us. Sometimes brain nerves are damaged if there are too much of CO2. So air pollution, it's the condition causes when too many pollutants are present in the air affecting air quality and public health. You go to Delhi around Diwali and the, the, the whole environment is highly polluted. That is called air pollution. It's smog and smog and lots of pollution, vehicle pollution, crackers pollution. Already polluted because of the vehicle, too much of vehicle. Though it's very green, Delhi is very green, but it is not able to sustain. So too much already polluted because of the vehicle, and additionally, what we are doing, we are using the crackers to reasonable level is fine. There are beautiful crackers, but up to the reasonable level is fine. But people just to show the strength use bombs and sutli bomb, and they are not only creating the air pollution but also the noise pollution they are creating. So control equipment are the device or tools that help reduce emission, such as electrostatic precipitators or catalytic converters. These are often made mandatory for polluting units. These acts include approved appliances, approved fuel and vehicles under its provision because they are a major source of air pollution, especially in cities. So air pollutant, emissions, control equipment and approved appliances, fuel, automobiles and industrial plants. So picture itself is explaining a lots of things. What are the reason why air are being polluted? Is because of we are burning the garbage dump, because too many vehicles, uncontrolled industries are emitting bad air in the environment. So these all are adding up in the environment and creating the air pollution. So scope and applicability of the act. So section 1 of the act lay out the basic detail where what the law is called, where it applies and when it is started. This law applies across the entire country. So the air pollution and control law applies in the whole country. No state or UT is excluded. This ensure a uniform legal framework for air pollution control in India. So the Act's scope is broader. It covers everything from setting up regulatory authority to monitoring air quality, regulating pollution in rural and urban areas, also empower government to declare certain geographical area as air pollutant control zone. So I have already discussed before establishing any factory, any industry, they have to take the clearance of the EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment. So under the EIA assessment, air pollution is one of the component. We have to check how much this because of the installation of this company, this factory, this industry, how much air will be polluted. So that has to be controlled, that has to be monitored. So that is called environmental impact assessment. How much these things, in many things including air pollution, will impact the environment. So objective of the act is the primary objective of this act are prevention and control and establishment of regulatory bodies and environmental preservation. So prevention and control, establishment of regulatory bodies and environmental preservation. So prevention and control, the act aims to regulate emission from industrial units, automobiles, power plants, etc., based on established standards. It covers pollution on both indoor and outdoor. Establishment of regulatory body, the act empowered to set up the CPCB and state pollution control boards and empower these boards to implement and enforce environmental standards. So CP means Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board. So they empower the board to implement and enforce environmental standard. Environmental preservation, to ensure the improvement of air quality, thereby protecting human health, vegetation and property, as well as promotion of public awareness to educate them on issue related to air pollution. Okay, so it is clear there are prevention and control, prevention and control, establishment of regulatory body. Two bodies has been established: Central Pollution Control Board and a state. Every state has got the State Pollution Control Board. So environmental preservation. So these are the three primary objective of these acts, and accordingly it works. So, key element of the air pollution, Air Act 1981. So, there is a clear legal framework, inspection and monitoring powers, strict penalties, use of funds, and future ready laws. Under these headings, clear legal framework means the Act provides a structured setup with clear responsibility for both central and state level pollution control board. This avoid confusion and proves coordination. Inspection and monitoring powers, whatever act you have to have the inspection and the monitoring power. Like we have board, Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board. So pollution control officers have the authority to inspect factories, take samples and test pollution level. This help keep industries in check. We have to keep monitoring of these industries, we have to keep monitoring of these factories, companies, so that it's not only the air pollution but water pollution. How much acid or chemical is mixing up into the water and seeping and mixing up with the water, and it is polluting the water quality. So these monitoring are essential to monitor the air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, so all these things. So there should be these strict penalties. There are legal consequences of industries or individual who violate the act, such as fines or imprisonment. This act as a strong warning, use of funds. The law provides for special funds and budgeting so that financial resources are available and properly used for pollution control activities. And future ready laws. The act allow for update and use of modern tools and technology, making it flexible for future environmental need. So there are regulatory authorities. Chapter 2 discuss about the regulatory authorities. We have already done. There are two regulatory authorities. One is the Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board for each state. Okay, and that is done through the Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board were tasked with enforcing the Act's provision and monitoring pollution level. The Act empowered the central government to establish regulatory authorities responsible for enforcing the provision of the Act and promoting environmental protection. Entry and inspection to industrial or any premises, and sampling and analysis of emission and air, and issuance of direction, closure, stopped or supply water, electricity. If there is a problem, authorities have the power to stop the supply like water and electricity. Declaration of the declaration of the declaration of air pollution control areas. These boards includes members from government department, local authorities, and technical experts. So these boards include members from government department, local authorities, and technical experts. Their structure is similar to those under the Water Act 1974. Power and function of the central board. Power and function, policy advisory role, and the coordination and technical assistant. So under section 16 of the act, the central board advises the central government on matter concerning air quality. It also plans and execute nationwide programs aimed at reducing air pollution, and the central board coordinates between various state boards, ensure that national standards are met. It provides technical assistance, support, research initiative, and organized training program for personnel involved in pollution control. So under this act, these are the power, and those central pollution control board as well as state pollution control board, they provide training to the different people. And power and function of the state board is more or less similar. The state pollution control boards plan a comprehensive program for prevention, control, and abandonment of air pollution, and to secure the execution thereof as per the need of their respective states. They also advise the state government on any matter concerning prevention, control, and abatement of air pollution. The board have the authorities to inspect industrial plants, control equipment, and other sources of air pollution. They are empowered to set emission standards and monitoring industrial process, as well as issues directive to ensure industrial adhere to these standards. Public education and mass media initiative. State board organize mass education campaign to increase public awareness about the health and environment impact of air pollution. Penalties and offences. Under section 37 and 39, the act fix up the penalties on the offences. If anyone violate the law, first offence up to 3 months in jail or fine up to 10,000 or both. Continuing offence 5,000 per day, and if violation continues for over 1 year, jail up to 7 years. Corporate and government also liable for this. So there are two categories: offense by companies and government department offenses. Both has to be penalized if they are involved, or because of their activities the air pollution is going on. So recent development and changes. Let's discuss about the recent development and the changes. Proper implementation of this act often weak due to not enough trained people or proper labs requirement to monitor pollution. Industries not following the rules many factories either don't comply or find way to bypass pollution control law. And political and administrative issues, sometimes enforcement is weak due to political pressure or slow government functioning. NCAP 2019. To deal with these problems, the government launches the National Clean Air Program. It focuses on 131 polluted cities, aiming to reduce PM 2.5 and PM 10 pollution by 20 to 30% by 2024. Improving monitoring system, regulation, and public involvement. So, lack of technical staff, agreed, non compliance by industries, political administrative challenges, National Clean Air Program launched in 2019 to supplement efforts. So, National Environmental Tribunal Act. Come to the national, it was the Air Pollution Act. National Environmental Tribunal Act 1995. It was enacted by the Parliament of India to provide for strict liability for damage arising out of any accident occurring while handling hazardous substance. It also aimed to establish a tribunal for effective and prompt disposal of cases involving such accident and provide compensation to victim. It came into force on 17 June 1995. The Act contained 31 sections covering 5 chapters and 1 schedule. 31 section, 5 chapters and 1 schedule. Let's discuss one by one. So, key objective of this act is this act was enacted with key objectives such as the act was enacted with key objectives such as to ensure speedy relief and compensation for victims of accident involving hazardous substance. It aimed to establish a dedicated tribunal to adjudicate adjudicate such cases effectively. The Act adopted the no fault liability principle. No fault liability principle, meaning compensation must be paid even if there is no proven negligence. It also sought to reduce the burden on civil courts and reinforce environmental justice. So, implement the principle of no fault liabilities. Why was it needed? What is the need of this act? After incident like the Bhopal gas tragedy, we have discussed in length what is the Bhopal gas tragedy. Gas was leaked, and because of that, still the stillborn or that was not only killed lots of people in Bhopal around surrounding areas, but also they impacted on genetically, and still no normal babies are being born from those who got affected because of this gas tragedy. So after the incident like the Bhopal gas tragedy, it became clear that India lacked a proper legal framework to handle environmental disaster. Victims had to wait year for justice, no clear avenue for compensation. There was also an urgent need to hold polluter accountable for environment and human harms. This act filled the gap by creating a mechanism focused on hazardous substance related accident. Structure of the tribunal. What is the structure? National Environmental Tribunal was a statutory body created under the Act, Chapter 3, Section 8 to 18. So the tribunal consisted of a chairperson, a current or former Supreme Court or High Court judge, no more than 3 other members with expertise in law, in environment, or hazardous substance management. The central government appointed all members. So, regulatory authorities and power, there are power. This is a very powerful act. The tribunal had power to summon individual, examine evidence, and pass binding orders. So, this much of power it has. It could award compensation to individual affected and to restore damage environment. Importantly, followed the no fault policy, meaning compensation was owned even without providing negligence. This ensure faster justice and greater accountability for companies handling hazardous material. Rules and provision. What are the important rules and provision? The act allowed claim from individuals, they are legal here, or even NGOs. Types of damage. The schedule under the act enlist 14 such scenario where compensation may be cheered for, such as personal injury, death, property damage, loss of wages, and environmental degradation. Claim had to be filed within 5 years from the date of accident. The burden of proof was not on victim. The entire handling hazardous substance was held liable by fault. So penalties and compensation. There are penalties and the compensation under this act. So penalties for failure to comply with order of tribunal. Whoever failed to comply with any order made by the tribunal, he shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 years, and or with fine which may extend to 10 lakhs rupees, or with both. The compensation amount varied based on extent of damage, offense by companies. Where any offense under this act has been committed by a company, every person who at the time the offense was committed was directly in charge of, and the entire company shall be deemed to be guilty and shall be liable to be proceeded against the variation. So the act did not provide for criminal penalties, and it focused on civil liabilities and compensation. Current state of NETA, National Green Tribunal. So the act was repealed in 2010 with the introduction of the National Green Tribunal (NGT). The NGT is broader in scope, handling not just hazardous accident but all environmental matter comes into effect since 2010. It combined the function of this tribunal and the environment appellate authorities. Together, the NGT play a key role in delivering environmental justice in India. So the NGT, National Green Tribunal, replaced both the National Environmental Tribunal and the National Environmental Appellate Authorities. National Green Tribunal 2010. NGT was set up in 2010 to provide a speedy, affordable alternative forum for environmental justice. That's why the NGT was formed. So, role as a specialized body. The NGT is a specialized body meant only for environmental cases. It was designed to quickly handle such matter and give focused attention to pollutions, forest conservation, and environmental harm. Time bound case resolution. One of the key feature of the NGT is that it must settle cases within 6 months of when they are filed. This ensures that urgent environmental issues are not delayed in the legal system. Jurisdiction and authorities. The NGT work under the supervision of the Supreme Court and deals with all civil cases related to the environment. This include matter under various environmental law like Environmental Protection Act and Forest Conservation Act. So benches across India, there are benches across India. The main bench of the NGT is in New Delhi, and to make it accessible across the countries, circuit benches also operate from Chennai, Bhopal, Pune, and Kolkata. And India's global position, India was the third country in the world to set up such specialized environmental codes. It followed countries like Australia and New Zealand to giving priority to environmental justice through dedicated tribunals. So India became the third country to create specialized environmental codes following Australia and New Zealand. So earlier Australia and New Zealand had these specialized environmental codes. Now the India is the third one to have this code. And within 6 months you have to settle down all the issues, whatever case is being filed. So these are the references I have used, and this is all are available on the website, different website. You just go through with these references, and thank you very much for patience listening. And we'll be meeting in our next class. I think we'll be discussing the CITES in our next class. Thank you very much.